Hey, it's TDA and welcome back to session 8 of this Dyson Sphere Program playthrough. This time around we will be working on our graphene production that we can see over here, what the materials are for. Why graphene? Because we will need them for pretty much all the next steps in our target, which is the interplanetary logistics station. So that means we can transport stuff between planets, but in order to get there we will need to do some stuff. You might actually want to craft the first few interplanetary stations by hand. Long word, interplanetary stations. But you won't be able to craft everything by hand, and generally speaking I don't really suggest you do a lot by hand, but yeah, for the first few you might as well, because you will probably be rebuilding a lot of your base after that. But graphene you can only actually produce in a chemical plant. If you look at your crafting screen over here, you cannot make it in your replicator, so you do need to have a build for this. It's one of the few things that needs it, along with one of the components, which is sulfuric acid. So we might as well set that up and get that going. In order to have these 4 graphene productions, I think this is plenty. It's probably even maybe too much, but let's go for 4 initially. We will need 2 sulfuric acid plants as well, and those need nothing special, just oil, we need some stone, we need some water. It's a lot of components, but none of them are really complicated or special. We also need graphite in order to make graphene, and it actually needs a lot. So if you look at the recipe, it requires 3 graphite per 2 graphene every 3 seconds, so that's 1 per second. So if we have 4 of these, we need to have 4 per second going. If we look at the graphite production, it creates 1 every 2 seconds. So that means in order to get 4 per second on the belt, or belts in this case maybe, yeah, we will need to double up on that in terms of the number of smelters, so 8 smelters with graphite. We will also need oil production. If you look at the amount of oil you need for sulfuric acid, it's 6 per 6 seconds, so that means we need 1 per second in order to have 1 completely filled up. So 2 means we need 2 refined oil per second, and that simply means that we need the double amount of refineries, so that's 4 refineries. And for 4 refineries we need 2 raw oil coming in. And we happen to have a little position over here, so if you're playing along with me, this is the location of our main base. If you go a little bit here to the west, you have this sort of island here. I built some power connections to that so we can get that fire up, where we actually do have the oil over here, we have the coal that we need in order to make the graphite, and we have the stone, and of course we need the water, so we have water. Most importantly, we also have room to build, so all of the components that we need in order to be successful. So let's see how we can make this a pretty build. First of all, let's start with the oil. And considering we have all the raw materials down here, I suggest that we bring this all the way up. Or maybe not all the way up, but at least a good way up. Not all the way though, because remember, this is just the raw oil, and we do want to start making this into refined oil, so that's where the refineries come in. We should have some of those on us as well. 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. And again we will have the, well, maybe not problem, but we will have the issue of having hydrogen and having the oil coming in. So we will need to split these up again, and we don't need the hydrogen. So in this case I'm actually going to do it like this. I am going to have the output go in this direction. There we go. That's 1, 2, and 3. We'll put a splitter here as well, and then this splitter will be the refined oil, and we will take the hydrogen again down here. Again, this will be stacking up, so let's put a storage over here as well. There's there's no such thing as having too much hydrogen storage. There we go. But of course, storage in itself is not really that useful, so if we have that excess hydrogen anyway, why not make it something useful, and let's put some power plants as well. That probably won't do a whole lot, considering we don't have that much hydrogen production over here. But still, might as well use it while we have it. It's not costing us anything, it's basically free energy. Although the oil does deplete very slowly once you start producing it. But yeah, if that's something that worries you, by the time it actually runs out, you should already be looking at new places to get it. Alright, so this is not needed. Let's also have inputs. And let's try not to forget to set the recipes this time around. There we go. So that is that. We do need to make sure we set the filter here, so we want the refined oil going in this direction, which means the hydrogen will automatically go down. So that means we have the most important part for our little chemical plants fixed. So let's set those over here. I always like building it out at first, just kind of schematically over there, so I know what I need to build. I don't need to write it down, look it up, etc. But you can just use that and keep that as a reminder, basically. So we also need the stone and we need the water. Well, we have plenty of stone and plenty of water over here. Which vein do we want to use? I guess it doesn't really matter that much. Pretty good. There we go. And let's bring that around. And did I misalign that? Apparently I did, so let's go one more up. And then across. And then of course we need the water. And that's another step closer to actually getting our stations. And there's our water. And of course we need to make sure they are both connected to that, so that's that. So that should bring in our stone and should bring in our water. Then we do need to make sure this is actually being fed. So, might as well double up on these, just to make sure we have the maximum amount going in. Same here. And then of course we have them coming out as well, which we'll do over here. Going out one, going out two. This is really overkill, but especially the things like the stone, you need a lot of that, so might as well just make sure you have the maximum amount going in whenever you can. These are actually not needed, same goes for this one. Just make sure I'm not deleting the sorters, just the belts, there we go. And this only starts over there, there you go. Okay, so that should fix the reset the recipe, yeah, that should fix the asset. I think it looks pretty neat over here. And then we come to the graphene. So the graphene, let's just flip that around just to make sure we know it's a different structure. 4 of those. There we go. That's one. And then we need coal. Now, it is actually important to know that we can only have 6 of those smelters on one coal belt. So we actually will need 2 coal belts, full coal belts, in order, well, not 2 full ones, but we need more than 1 full one, let's put it like that, in order to produce all the graphite that we need. So, let's see. Shouldn't be too hard to figure out a position where that works. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes. Is this not... let's flip it around once more. There we go. And 4. Really bugs me when almost you know it will fit, but you simply can't get it to. So we will need 4 of these. Might as well make it nice and clean. Let's get them down here. Four. And then we can have it go like this. One line there. And the other line going around all the other way. Like so. And why did I put it like this? Because the actual outputs of these 4 can actually fit on one belt. So we can make that one go like that. And like so. It only needs these 2 inputs, so then we only have one more belt to go. And that is the outputs. And then for now we will store those up. We will be using them and applying them somewhere else in a bit. But one thing at a time. These we won't actually need anymore. My power tower should go along with me. And of course, don't forget the sorters, since we did that last time, or at least I did that last time. Shouldn't drag you into it. But I did actually forget to set it last time, so let's be smarter this time around. There we go, there we go. And there we go for those. And of course, last but not least, we need to set the sorters on the graphene production. So one of those, and one going out. And we can copy that. Did it pick the last one? No, not sure why not, but there we go. And then of course, let's reduce the belts a little bit so we are not using more than we need. So this should be everything. Always fun to see what happens when we power it up. We might actually... no, let's just do it like that. Let's power that up. And let's power these up. We need to make sure we have the... there we go. Stone powered up as well. Shouldn't forget about our oil. Won't be happening much without that one. There we go. Graphene itself, of course, needs to be powered. There we go. One more at our tower, then this only needs one, but I like it when it's a little bit more symmetric. And then powering this up as well. Okay, so let's see. That's coming in quite nicely. We have the graphite coming in here as well. That should mean we have the graphite coming into the graphene production as well. Let's double check on our acid. Takes a little while to produce. We have... why don't we have stone coming in? Apparently we didn't completely copy the things over here, so... hello? Oh. For some reason that copying isn't working manually. So it was actually delaying filling up the other one first. Sometimes these sorters get a little bit wonky. again, the game is still in early access, so there are some connection issues sometimes. A few weeks ago, for example, the logistics center had an issue where you couldn't connect to the middle entrance. So when you have multiple entrances like this, just one of them wasn't working properly in certain situations. Really annoying, but they fixed it in a few weeks. So if this is a bug, or maybe it's something I've done wrong, I don't see any issue. We're not actually on a fault line here or anything like that, but if it's a bug, it will probably get fixed really soon. And it doesn't happen that often, to be honest, so shouldn't worry too much about it if it does happen. You can see we have a boatload of graphene coming in, so that will be plenty. It will be sufficient for quite a long time. Then if we go back to our end goal here, our end goal for now is the Interstellar Logistics Center. We need the high strength titanium alloy, so that's this one. And for that one we need sulfuric acid, so we know how to produce that now. We need steel, we have that. We need titanium, we have that, albeit on the other planet, so we have to ferry it back and forth initially. Again, the main reason we're trying to automate it is as quickly as possible. And then we also need, where is it? Is it this one? No, it's not. We need this other one. I think it's this one, right? Yeah. So the more magnetic particle trap, or at least that's the research, the particle container. That's the one we need. So that's the one we actually need the graphene for. We have it now. It also just needs copper. Pretty straightforward. We've had that since the start. And then we also need to build some of these nice little thrusters, turbines actually, sorry. These are still called turbines. We can make those from electric motors. We actually don't have that production set up. There is a few assemblers making those in our little mall, but yeah, nothing central setup. So we will need to do that in order to set up the electromagnetic turbine production as well. And we can make a few fun builds out of that, so I think that will be a nice little chore for the next episode. I hope you enjoyed this one. I think the graphite production with all the, or graphene production I should say, with the acid, and gets a lot of components together. If you look at this, it's quite a nice little neat base with a lot of different things going on. It's one of the more interesting builds to do. It's not that straightforward. It's not just smelters to assemblers. It's a lot of different buildings in it, and yeah, the end result is quite fun. So I hope you enjoyed that, and see you in the next one.